Let's give some Disney characters the attention they so deserve. Hello everybody, Nicky Marra here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all have had a fabulous week and are ready for yet another fun ranking video. And I'm not gonna lie, this is one that I have been so excited to make ever since starting to post long-form videos on YouTube. As you all might know, Disney has many incredible animated characters who do some pretty heroic things. We have talked about many of these characters on this channel before, including the Disney princesses, the Disney princes, Disney heroes, and Disney heroines. However, some of the characters that I really love to talk about are the heroes that very seldomly get recognized for the action that they take in their own animated movie. It is so true that some of Disney's greatest heroes reside in the shadows. And so today we are going to pinpoint who I believe are Disney's most unsung heroes and bring them from zero to hero, just like that. If you're new to the channel, hi, my name is Nicky Marra. I am a Disney content creator. I got my start over on TikTok, but have joined the YouTube community and have been absolutely loving making long-form videos for you guys. So if you'd like to stick around and experience all of the future magic that we have in store, then make sure to hit subscribe down below. And as always, if you'd like to find me on any of my other social medias, my handle is @NickyMarra with 2 Y's and 2 R's. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Now, as always on this channel, I am going to jump into some brief disclaimers and conditions for our list today. But if you would like to jump right into the list of all of these wonderful unsung heroes, then you can jump right to this timestamp. First and foremost, for our disclaimers, I am not associated with the Walt Disney Company, and I don't speak for the brand or the company. All opinions in this video are just mine and do not reflect those of the brand or the company. But secondly, I welcome any and all opinions surrounding these wonderful Disney characters and Disney movies down in my comment section. If I happen to forget a character that you think is a true unsung hero, make sure to leave them down below so that way they also get some recognition. And if you agree with one of my picks, then make sure to let me know down below. I truly love getting to connect with all of you about our favorite Disney characters and movies, so make sure to leave all of your thoughts down below. But thirdly, for our disclaimers, I do want to give a brief spoiler warning for all of the Disney movies and Disney characters that we are going to be talking about in today's video. As a part of the talking points for each individual character, we are going to be going through some of the plot points and how they affect the overall story. And so if you don't want anything spoiled for a specific animated movie, then you can just jump right on up to the next character on today's list. But next, moving on to our conditions for the list today. Today, I have curated a list of 20 Disney animated characters who I believe are some of the biggest unsung heroes. Again, all of these characters did have to be animated characters from an original Disney animated movie. That does mean we are not going to be including outside companies such as Pixar, Lucasfilms, or 20th Century Fox. And for the purposes of today's video, we are also not going to be including characters that are introduced in a Disney direct-to-DVD sequel. Solely the original theatrical released animated movies. In addition, we're going to try to broaden our horizons and keep as few characters from the same movie as possible, but I also did want to mention really quick that this list may not have as many names that you will recognize, specifically because we're going to try to steer away from our main heroes. There are many Disney animated characters that perform truly heroic acts in their movie, but the characters that I'm going to be listing today are the ones that I believe never get enough credit or recognition for what they actually do in their animated movie. And so by excluding specific characters from the list today, I'm not saying that they're not heroic, but in excluding them, I assume that people recognize them for their heroic talents. But regardless, if you have a Disney hero that you truly love and wish made the list today, you can also leave them down in the comments below. And finally, for the conditions for today's list, I am going to be limiting today's list to just 20 characters. And the reason I like to put a specific limit on the list is that for certain videos and topics, I like to talk about each individual character a little bit more than others. So videos such as my ranking of Disney sidekicks, where I listed upwards of 80 animated sidekicks, I really didn't get to talk too much about each individual character because we were trying to get through the list without having it be a 8-hour video. And so putting these number restrictions on videos will often give me a lot more time to talk about all of these characters. And specifically today, I think these characters deserve it, considering I don't think they get nearly enough credit or recognition for what they accomplish in their movies. But with all of those disclaimers and conditions out of the way, I believe we are ready to jump into some of Disney's most unsung heroes. Oh yes, and really quick, I do want to go through some brief talking points that we're going to be sure to touch on for each character. First and foremost, we we are going to be discussing which Disney animated movie these characters can be found in. Secondly, we're going to give some credit to the voice actors behind these Disney characters. Thirdly, we're going to be talking about their presence within the animated movie. Are they closer to a main character? Are they closer to just a one-time appearance? And for the fourth and final talking point, we're going to be talking about the specific heroic act that landed the character their spot on today's list. But with all that being said, we've got a lot to talk about. So if you're ready to jump into today's ranking, then sit back, relax, grab yourself a snack and a drink, and let's get into my official ranking of Disney's unsung heroes. We are starting today's list all the way down at the bottom at number 20. Who is Abu? Now, Abu is the adorable little monkey friend that can be found in the Disney animated movie Aladdin. Abu is wonderfully voice acted by Frank Welker, and Abu in his movie is a sidekick to our main character, Aladdin. And seeing as Abu is the right-hand monkey of Aladdin, we often do get to follow him in the plotline of this movie, seeing as he's pretty much always with or around Aladdin. And Abu in his movie is quite mischievous and quite cunning. With Aladdin being a so-called street rat in the movie, he often has to do quite a bit of thievery in order to survive, and so Abu has definitely adapted his skill set to aid Aladdin. And while I'll be completely honest, sometimes I do find Abu to be a little bit of a nuisance, we have to give him credit for his heroic act. And for this specific character, the big heroic act that I am referring to is stealing the lamp back from Jafar. When Aladdin finds himself in the palace prison, Jafar meets him in disguise. Jafar tempts Aladdin with riches beyond belief if only he'll retrieve for him the magic lamp. Well, when Aladdin goes into the Cave of Wonders to retrieve the lamp for Jafar, he ends up finding it and making his way back up to the cave entrance. However, Jafar tells him he'll only let him up if he hands him the lamp first. After handing the lamp over to Aladdin, Jafar refuses to let Aladdin up, and so Abu scrambles upwards onto Jafar and snags back the magic lamp. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what about this is a heroic act? Well, whether Abu realized it or not, he actually saved Aladdin's life. Seeing as after Abu is able to snag back the lamp, both Aladdin and Abu fall backwards into the Cave of Wonders, which closes. We eventually find out that the magic lamp contains the genie who is able to free Aladdin from the Cave of Wonders. And so frankly, if Abu had never stolen back the magic lamp from Jafar, Aladdin and Abu might have stayed in the Cave of Wonders for an extended period of time. And so yeah, let it be known that I am absolutely going to give a ton of credit to the character Abu for essentially what is more than half of the runtime of the movie Aladdin. And so while Abu may not be one of my favorite Disney sidekicks, I gotta hand it to him. He does something pretty heroic. But next we're gonna move on up to number 19 on my list, who is Empress Kida. Now, Empress Kida can be found in the Disney animated movie Atlantis, and Kida is voiced by Cree Summer. Now, while I am quite often honest in saying that Atlantis is not one of my favorites of the Disney animated movies, I really do like the character of Empress Kida. Kida is technically one of the main characters of this movie, seeing as she is the love interest to the main character, Milo. And so while I did want to steer clear of main characters for this list, I do think that Atlantis is one of the lesser known animated movies, and so I do feel as though it is justified in having her on this list. But yeah, seeing as she is a main character, we do follow her for quite a bit of this film, although not quite the beginning. It's more so when we arrive in Atlantis with Milo and his crew. And as for the heroic act that lands her on today's list, well, I am of course referring to when she bonds her crystal. When Milo's team first arrives in Atlantis, they start doing some truly heinous things to the culture. Kida watches in horror as her father is so horribly mistreated by all of the people in Milo's group. And deciding to take action in order to save the city of Atlantis, she retreats to the Crystal Chamber, where she is actually called upon by the crystal and ends up bonding with it. Now, of course, there is an entire battle at the end of this movie which Kida is not a part of, seeing as she is still bonded with the crystal. However, it is important to note that making this bond is a huge part of what ends up saving the city of Atlantis, and eventually leads her to the title of Empress of Atlantis. I love this character so much. I really think she is an unsung hero, and I actually did talk quite a bit more about her in my ranking of Disney heroines video, which I will link up above for you. But next, we're gonna move on up to number 18 on my list, who is the character Zazu. Now, Zazu can be found in the Disney animated movie The Lion King. And Zazu is wonderfully voice acted by actor Rowan Atkinson. And Zazu in his movie is indeed a side character. He is the Major Duomo of Mufasa and eventually Simba. And so while he's not in the entire runtime of this movie, I would say he does have quite a memorable presence in the movie. And as for the heroic act that lands him a place on today's list is when he saves Simba and Nala from the hyenas. As you may remember that when Zazu is about to be a meal to the hyenas, when the hyenas are attempting to cook him, he ends up rocketing upwards as the water underneath him is quite hot. Well, in this short amount of time, he is able to make it all the way back to Mufasa to warn him that Simba and Nala are in danger. And while it could definitely be argued that Zazu is the reason that Simba and Nala ended up in the elephant graveyard because he wasn't necessarily keeping a close enough watch on them, I definitely think that he is the reason that the rest of the story is able to play out, seeing as Mufasa wouldn't have known that his son and eventual daughter-in-law were in danger. And so in making the very fast flight all the way back to Mufasa to warn him about the danger, Zazu lands himself at number 18 on today's list of Disney's Unsung Heroes. I really like the character of Zazu, and I absolutely wanted to include him to give him credit because I don't think he gets enough credit for saving our main characters in this movie. But next we're gonna move on up to number 17 on my list, who is the character Scuttle. Now Scuttle, of course, can be found in the Disney animated film The Little Mermaid, and in the original animated film, Scuttle is wonderfully voice acted by Buddy Hackett. As for his role in the film, Scuttle is definitely a sidekick to our leading heroine, Ariel. Now in this film, he does only have a couple of scenes, considering the first half of it takes place underwater, and in the second half, he claims he's knowledgeable about the human world, but I think we know how much he actually knows about the human world. But yes, while Scuttle may not really know what humans use specific gadgets and gizmos for, he does prove himself a true hero in this movie. Which is of course at the moment when he is able to realize that Vanessa, the human that is about to marry Prince Eric, is actually the Sea Witch in disguise. When he finds out that Prince Eric is going to end up marrying the Sea Witch, he races back to the docks to tell Ariel so that way she can hopefully stop this from happening. Not only does he successfully convey this entire message to Sebastian, Flounder, and Ariel, but he is also able to put together a small posse of both sea creatures and feathered friends in order to help stall the wedding. Now, it is definitely arguable that Scuttle is so scatterbrained, but I truly believe that he has the best of intentions and is also a true hero when it comes to his Disney animated film. After all, how different would this movie have ended if Prince Eric actually did end up marrying Vanessa? Ooh, that's something I definitely don't want to think about. But next we're gonna move on up to number 16 on my list, who is the character Pascal. Now Pascal can be found in the Disney animated film Tangled, and while Pascal is a non-speaking role and so we can't really attribute the voice to anyone in particular, he is the wonderful sidekick of our leading heroine, Rapunzel. And while Pascal is a wonderful presence in this movie and an absolutely adorable little sidekick to Rapunzel, I also think that he totally deserves credit for a very specific heroic act, which is also having a hand in defeating the main villain, Mother Gothel. Now at the very end of the film, obviously Flynn Rider cuts Rapunzel's hair in order to stop Mother Gothel from taking Rapunzel away. In cutting Rapunzel's hair, this does in fact age Mother Gothel seemingly centuries. And so whether or not it is confirmed that she would have survived this rapid aging as it is, she stumbles backwards and Pascal actually stretches out Rapunzel's hair lying on the floor, which makes Mother Gothel trip backwards out of the tower. And yes, I am definitely going to be the one to give Pascal the credit for defeating Mother Gothel as a wonderful little helping hand to Rapunzel and Flynn. I mean, come on, this character is so cute as it is. How can you not absolutely love him? But I'm gonna even take it as far as to call him an unsung hero of the Disney company. But next, friends, we are gonna move on up to number 15 on my list, who is my only duo on today's list. At number 15, is Pungo and Perdita. Now, I have talked about these wonderful Dalmatian dogs before, not only in Ranking of Disney Pets, but I believe also in Ranking of Disney Animals. And I love these two. I think they are wonderful main characters in their movie. Now, Pungo and Perdita can be found in the Disney animated movie 101 Dalmatians. And in the original animated film, Pungo is voiced by Rod Taylor, and Perdita is voiced by Kate Bauer. And like I said before, these two are in fact leading characters in 101 Dalmatians. However, I know we weren't gonna really include main characters on the list, but I do feel like they're often forgotten, specifically because 101 Dalmatians does not have the biggest presence within the Disney parks. It is quite obviously a little difficult for Pungo and Perdita to meet and be around guests all day, seeing as I'm sure they need a lot of snacks and belly rubs. But I often feel like in the discussion of heroes amongst Disney, that these two dogs are quite often forgotten. Now, what lands them the heroic title on today's list? Well, let's get into it. At the beginning of their movie, Pungo and Perdita have 15 puppies. Eventually, of course, these 15 puppies are stolen by Cruella de Vil, and Pungo and Perdita go on an entire adventure to retrieve them back. When Pungo and Perdita eventually arrive to Cruella de Vil's manor to retrieve their puppies, they find out that there are quite a few other puppies, seeing as on top of their own 15 puppies that they had at the beginning of the movie, Cruella de Vil has stolen 84 additional puppies. And what is absolutely wonderful about these two dogs is that without even blinking, they immediately decide that they are going to rescue the additional 84 from Cruella de Vil's clutches and adopt them seemingly as their own. Pungo and Perdita lead all 99 little puppies back to their home, and as a special shout out to Roger and Anita in this movie, they also very wonderfully welcome all additional 84 puppies into their home. This movie is so heartwarming and so incredibly sweet to see all of these puppies band together to make it home, and it is all because of Pungo and Perdita that all 101 dogs end up safe and sound at the end of their movie. Oh my god, I just love them. They deserve all the treats in the world. But next, friends, we're gonna move on up to number 14 on my list, who is the character Jiminy Cricket. Now, Jiminy Cricket, of course, can be found in the wonderful Disney animated movie, Pinocchio. And in his original animated movie, Jiminy is wonderfully voice acted by Cliff Edwards. And while it can definitely be argued that Jiminy Cricket is the sidekick to Pinocchio, I would also argue that he quite literally is a main character, considering he follows Pinocchio throughout this entire film. He's even the first character that we meet in the entire movie. Now, as for the heroic act that lands Jiminy Cricket his placement on today's list, we of course remember at the beginning of this animated film that Jiminy Cricket takes on the task delegated to him by the Blue Fairy to be Pinocchio's conscience. This means that essentially for the rest of the film, Jiminy Cricket is going to instill the knowledge of good or bad into Pinocchio. That alone is a big task to put on a little cricket. So for the rest of the film, Jiminy Cricket very much tries to teach Pinocchio worldly wisdom and knowledge, teaching him the things that he should be doing and to make good decisions and to avoid the bad decisions. Well, it is my personal opinion that taking on this very tedious job of teaching a apparently newborn wooden puppet the difference between right and wrong and to avoid temptations is what eventually leads Pinocchio to rescue his own father. I think it is relatively safe to say that Jiminy Cricket essentially points Pinocchio in the correct path, and whether or not Pinocchio always takes it or not, Jiminy Cricket is always there to be there for him and to eventually guide him in the right direction. And well, if Jiminy Cricket hadn't always been the helpful voice in Pinocchio's ear, who knows what would have ended up happening at the end of this film, and whether or not Pinocchio would have ended up becoming a real boy and saving his father Geppetto. Seeing as Pinocchio was essentially brought into this world and made animated by the Blue Fairy without any worldly knowledge, I really don't believe that he truly could have done it on his own. I definitely think it is all thanks to his adorable little friend Jiminy Cricket that Pinocchio ended up proving himself a true hero, which would essentially make Jiminy Cricket our unsung hero from this movie. But next we're gonna move on up to number 13 on my list, who is the character Bagheera. Now, Bagheera can be found in the Disney animated movie, The Jungle Book. And in the original animated film, there were two voice actors that really helped Bagheera come to life. The first of which is Sebastian Cabot, and the second of which is Jimmy McDonald. And I would definitely categorize Bagheera as a side character in this movie, considering Mowgli is the main character that we really follow throughout all of the events of this movie. But once again, much like Jiminy Cricket, Bagheera is always there to lend his helping hand. And as for the heroic act that lands Bagheera his place on today's list, well, he essentially is Mowgli's guardian throughout this entire movie. Bagheera, much like Jiminy Cricket, is pointing Mowgli in specific directions, advising him to do certain things but also to avoid others. And while yes, Bagheera is not perfect, much like Jiminy Cricket, I do believe that it is Bagheera's guidance that ends up leading Mowgli where he's supposed to be at the end of this movie. And so while I do believe that Jiminy Cricket and Bagheera share quite a bit in common, I'm gonna rank Bagheera a little bit higher on today's list because I feel like he's even a little bit more unsung than Jiminy Cricket. Jiminy Cricket at least can be met in the Disney parks and has quite a bit more fanfare surrounding his name, considering his song is like the anthem of the Disney company. But I honestly feel like Bagheera is a character that quite often goes very forgotten amongst the Disney community. I mean, the majority of people, when you mention the film The Jungle Book, would probably name Mowgli and Baloo as two of the most popular characters, when the two of them are nowhere near as responsible as the character Bagheera. I don't know, when I watch this animated film, I am definitely drawn to Bagheera, and I do not think he gets nearly enough credit for dealing with such a spirited little child. But next we're gonna move on up to number 12 on my list, who is the character Merryweather. Now, Merryweather is from the wonderful Disney animated film Sleeping Beauty, and in her film, Merryweather is wonderfully voiced by voice actress Barbara Luddy. Now, as for her role in the original animated film, well, this I feel like comes with a little bit of discourse. Technically, I would categorize the main characters as Philip, Aurora, and Maleficent. However, in this animated film, we spend significantly more time with the three good fairies than we do with either Philip or Aurora. The three good fairies are of course guiding the events of this movie, and it is Merryweather's gift to Princess Aurora that ends up leading to her happily ever after. As we know, Maleficent makes an appearance at the beginning of this animated film and places a curse on Princess Aurora. While I'm sure Merryweather had a wonderful gift to give Princess Aurora before Maleficent's appearance, she did have to veer off track a little bit in order to save Princess Aurora. As with Maleficent's curse, Princess Aurora's life would have ended upon her 16th birthday. But luckily, Merryweather had not yet bestowed her gift and changed this fateful ending to one that is a little less severe, which of course just places Princess Aurora into a deep sleep awaiting true love's kiss. It is not only Merryweather that rewrites the future of Princess Aurora, but also helps to see it come true. As when the three good fairies also find out that it's Prince Philip who is Princess Aurora's true love, she is one of three characters who does everything in her power to guide him to his fate of being able to bestow that kiss on Princess Aurora. And it is under Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather's approving gaze that Prince Philip is able to rescue their seemingly adopted daughter. I absolutely love Merryweather. I think she is truly an unsung hero, not only in her film, but also of the three good fairies. She's not thought of this way, but she often has the most level head on her shoulders of the three. And I think the majority of the recognition for Princess Aurora being saved at the end of this movie should also be placed on Merryweather. And not just, well, we'll get to that in a little bit. But next we're gonna move on up to number 11 on my list, who is the character Quasimodo. Now, Quasimodo can be found in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the wonderful Disney animated classic, and performer Tom Hulce is the voice behind Quasimodo, the animated character. And while yes, Quasimodo is the main titular character of his animated movie, he ends up landing on today's list because I think people don't give him nearly enough credit for what he actually accomplishes in his animated film. In his movie, he not only saves Esmeralda, but also the entire city of Paris, as we see Judge Claude Frollo go on an absolutely terrible rampage, burning buildings and pointing an accusing finger at different groups of people. And it is Quasimodo having to stand up against the corrupt judge that ends up saving all of these people. While there are many heroes in this movie, including Phoebus and Esmeralda, I think Quasimodo does go quite a bit unsung, considering We really can't see him as a meet and greet character in any of the Disney parks, and this movie is quite often forgotten and left out of many Disney shows. Here's hoping that one day we can see Quasimodo as a meet and greet character once again, but until then, I have absolutely no problem in giving him a spot on today's list of unsung heroes. But with that, we've reached the top 10 and the top half of my list of unsung heroes. I am so excited to get into all of the rest of the characters on today's list. And if you have a guess as to who's gonna make it, make sure to leave their name down below. With that, we're gonna start off the top half of this list at number 10, who is the character Grumpy. Now, Grumpy, of course, can be found in the Disney animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And in the original animated film, Grumpy is voiced by Pinto Colbig. And while yes, he is one of the Seven Dwarfs, I definitely think he is a fan favorite to many and does, in fact, stand out amongst the crowd. But what lands Grumpy a place on today's list as an unsung hero is his character arc. It can definitely be argued that Grumpy has the biggest character arc in this entire animated film. He goes from severely disliking Snow White, seeing as he believes that her presence in the dwarves' cottage is actually putting all of them in danger, to eventually warming up to her and accepting her as a member of their little family and being the first of the dwarves to proclaim that they must be the ones to go and rescue Snow White. He holds back no reservations, and in the final climax of this film, where it's the dwarves versus the queen, Grumpy is always at the front of the group. I absolutely love this character. I think he is so wonderful and a true hero, not only as one of the Seven Dwarfs, but also in this entire animated film. Oh, I just love Grumpy, and I think he deserves so much more recognition than what he truly gets. Next, moving on up to number 9 on my list, who is Prince Philip. Now, Prince Philip can also be found in Disney's animated feature, Sleeping Beauty. And in this animated film, he is wonderfully voice acted by Bill Shirley. And yes, Prince Philip is technically one of the leading characters in this movie. However, once again, like we talked about when we were discussing Merryweather, I definitely think it is significantly more arguable that the three good fairies are the leading characters of this movie, as they are truly guiding all of the leading characters to their eventual destinies. So yes, whether you want to call Philip a side character or a main character, it can go either way. But Prince Philip is the only Disney prince to land on today's list, and today I want to get into why. It is quite obvious from the Disney animated film that Prince Philip and Princess Aurora fall for each other very quickly. However, I am going to say that I am very impressed with Philip's dedication to saving Princess Aurora. While many people may write off their relationship or their romance as very one note and very surface level, I do not believe this is the case because of the lengths that Prince Philip truly goes to save his princess. After he has only seemingly met her once, he not only goes back to the cottage that night to hopefully see her again and introduce himself to her aunts, but he also fights his way out of Maleficent's castle through a forest of briar and also fights Maleficent herself as the dragon. Philip in this movie truly proves himself to be a true hero. And I'll be honest, of all of the Disney princes, I feel like he gets some of the least recognition for all of the work that he puts in. Also taking into account that he was one of the first Disney princes to have a fully fleshed out story and also character arc. I don't know, I think Prince Philip is a wonderful character. I definitely don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves, and that is what is going to land him on today's list. But next we're going to move on up to number 8 on my list, who is the character Cody. Now, Cody can be found in the Disney animated film The Rescuers Down Under, and in this film, Cody is voice acted by Adam Rain. And Cody, I would definitely argue, while he influences the plot quite a bit, is indeed a side character to our main characters of Bernard and Miss Bianca. In this movie, Cody is trying to help out and rescue some of the wildlife of Australia from the evil Percival C. McLeach. And well, all of his efforts are very valiant, but unfortunately he ends up being captured by McLeach. Well, Cody is eventually rescued by Bernard and Miss Bianca and still turns his attention back to the wildlife, putting all of his effort and energy into rescuing Marahute, who is the beautiful golden eagle, so that way Marahute may properly mother her adorable little baby eagle eggs. I feel like Cody is so seldomly talked about in the Disney community, but he is such a true hero and a wonderful character in this animated film. He is spirited and kind to every creature that he meets, and he always does his best to instill a little bit of hope in all of the characters around him. Cody's just such a sweetie. I absolutely think he deserves the title of true hero in his movie, and I am so happy to include him on today's list as I think he deserves all of the recognition in the world. But next, moving on up to number 7 on my list, who is a character I absolutely love. At number 7 is Miss Charlotte LaBeouf. Now, Charlotte LaBeouf can be found in the Disney animated film, The Princess and the Frog. And in the original animated film, she is wonderfully voiced by Jennifer Cody. As for her role in the film, Charlotte is definitely the sidekick to Princess Tiana, although it is very nice to see her not necessarily in the role of sidekick, but more so as a best friend. Charlotte LaBeouf, while having a very different background from Princess Tiana, does not let that change the fact that she truly loves and cares for her friend. When Tiana ends up getting messy from all of the beignets at the big masquerade ball, Charlotte LaBeouf has absolutely no reservations in taking Princess Tiana up to her room and giving her a dress that she looks absolutely stunning in. This goes to show that she truly loves her bestie, as she is not going to let her back outside looking anything less than perfect. But in addition to the heroism she shows here at the masquerade ball at the end of this film, Charlotte is also willing to kiss Prince Naveen in order to turn Tiana and Naveen back into humans, with absolutely no strings attached, knowing how much Princess Tiana and Naveen love and care about each other. While yes, it is very obvious from the beginning of this film that Charlotte seems like a very surface level kind of character, she is so much deeper when you take into account the love that she shows for her best friend and all that she's willing to do to see Tiana have her own beautiful happily ever after. I love Charlotte so much. Here's hoping one day soon that we get to see her as a meet and greet character. But even as for right now, getting to officially finally see her in a Disney attraction is just so wonderful. I love getting to see her at the end of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and every time she's waving to us, it just puts a big smile on my face. Next, we're moving on up to number 6 on my list, who is Timothy Q. Mouse. Now, Timothy Q. Mouse can be found in the beautiful Disney animated film Dumbo, and in the original film, Timothy Q. Mouse is wonderfully voice acted by Edward Brophy. And in this film, Timothy Q. Mouse is indeed a sidekick to our leading character, Dumbo. What I love is that they kind of share this leading character sort of energy, seeing as Dumbo is a non-speaking role. But as for me, I am including Timothy Q. Mouse on today's list because of how much he is willing to stick up for his best friend, Dumbo. It is no secret that Dumbo is quite often treated very poorly in this animated film, and seeing as Dumbo is quite literally a voiceless character, Timothy has no reservations about stepping up and speaking out in order to defend and to protect his best friend. It is his constant caring energy that lands Timothy this placement on today's list. I absolutely think he is a sweetheart, and the fact that he cares so much about Dumbo, who is such a cute character, it really makes us root for Timothy even more. And while we don't get to see a lot of him in the parks, it is wonderful to see him as a part of Dumbo the Flying Elephant's attraction, as he always seems to be keeping a watchful eye over Dumbo. But with that, friends, we've reached the top 5. At number 5 on my list is Nani. Now, Nani can be found in the Disney animated film Lilo and Stitch, and in the original animated film, Nani is wonderfully voice acted by Tia Carrere. Nani is considered a side character, seeing as Lilo and Stitch make up the main duo of this movie, but what I love so much about Nani is that she is the older sister to Lilo, and she is a fierce protector of her little sister. At the beginning of the movie, we learn that Lilo and Nani no longer have their parents to watch over and take care of them, but nonetheless, Nani is determined to step up and to be the proper caretaker for her little sister. She constantly has to deal with the threat of the United States government wanting to take Lilo away from her and to split up their family. It is a heavy energy constantly surrounding this family, but Nani is persistent and hardworking through it all, especially with such a spirited little kid as Lilo, who often gets herself in quite a bit of trouble. I think Nani is so strong, so wonderful, and so brave, and honestly, severely unsung. I think she deserves so much more credit than what the Disney community gives her, and I absolutely have no problem labeling the character of Nani Pelekai as a true hero. Next, we're moving on up to number 4 on my list, who is the character Kala. Now, Kala can be found in the Disney animated film Tarzan, and in the original animated film, Kala is beautifully voice acted and sung by actress Glenn Close. Now, Kala I would definitely consider a leading player in this animated film, considering she is the mother of our titular character, Tarzan. At the beginning of the film, we see this truly heart-wrenching story where we learn that Kala lost her little baby. In addition, little baby Tarzan also lost his parents, which seemingly makes this puzzle go together where Kala adopts baby Tarzan. And while Tarzan as a human is constantly treated as an outcast by all of the gorillas, Kala never sees him being a human as making him different or strange. She is going to do everything and anything in her power to protect him. This mother and child duo is so incredibly strong and sweet and so beautiful to watch together on screen. I think Kala is a wonderful character and has a heart of gold, and her instant willingness to adopt Tarzan and to protect him not only from Sabor, but also from the criticism of her other family members is truly an act that earns her a spot on today's list. Oh my gosh, the scenes with Kala and Tarzan just make me so emotional, but I love Kala. She is such a wonderful, wonderful character, and I truly can't say enough good about her. I just love this character. But next, friends, we're moving on up to number 3 on my list. At number 3 is the character Ray. Now, Ray is from the Disney animated film The Princess and the Frog, and in this movie he is wonderfully voice acted by actor Jim Cummings. Now, Ray is definitely a sidekick in this film to Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen, and although he doesn't have the most screen time in his movie, I truly believe this little firefly is so heroic. Not only does he have a beautifully sweet romantic story with the North Star Evangeline, he also helps bring Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen closer together, an act that will eventually lead to both of them becoming human again. But in his final moments, he also helps Princess Tiana to defeat Dr. Facilier. Ray is the one to steal away the amulet from all of the spirits and to bring it to Princess Tiana. And once he is able to do this, he self-sacrifices so that way Princess Tiana can have a few more moments to get away. And unfortunately, he does meet his end under the foot of Dr. Facilier. But for what he does in his life, we absolutely have to give Ray the credit for what happens at the end of this film. I truly believe little Ray is the reason that Princess Tiana is able to successfully defeat the Shadow Man, but also the reason why Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen end up coming together, as Ray is a wonderful little matchmaker. Yes, I believe Ray is absolutely an unsung hero and absolutely deserves his top 3 placement on today's list. Next up on my list at number 2, friends, is the character Megara. Now, Megara can be found in the Disney animated film Hercules. She is perfectly voice acted by actress Susan Egan, and she is one of the 2 romantic leads in this film. But what's interesting about her is she actually starts off this movie on the side of the villain. Having made a deal with Hades, she often has to do his bidding at the beginning, but as she develops feelings for Hercules, she slowly starts to separate herself from Hades. Seeing that Hercules is a true hero and somebody who truly can save the world, in a moment where Hercules looks like he's about to meet his end, Megara sacrifices her life. Knowing that she hasn't been the most trustworthy and honest partner to Hercules, she truly believes that sacrificing her life for his will allow Hercules to vanquish Hades. And it is proven that her sacrifice is not in vain, as Hercules is able to defeat Hades, the Lord of the Underworld, but he is also able to rescue Megara's spirit from the River of Souls. It is so wonderful getting to see this relationship blossom between Hercules and Meg, and for them to constantly do things to help each other out. But I would be lying if I said that Megara doesn't deserve a spot on today's list, because she makes the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that Hercules is able to complete his destiny. I love Megara. I think she is so strong, so witty, and such a perfectly complex animated character, deserving of number 2 on today's list. Oh, but with that, friends, we have reached number 1 on my list of Disney's unsung heroes. At number 1 on my list is Bambi's mother. I gotta see if I can get through this one without getting too emotional. Now, Bambi's mother, of course, can be found in the Disney animated film Bambi. And in the original animated film, she is wonderfully voice acted by Paula Winslow. Now, Bambi's mother is a very small role in the original animated film, seeing as she only makes it about halfway through the film before her unfortunate demise. In this film, Bambi's mother raises Bambi in his very early stages of life. She proves herself to be a wonderful teacher to her baby son, and also shows that she can stand up for him when he needs her. But yes, it is Bambi's mother who makes the ultimate sacrifice and lands her at number 1 on today's list. As while the two are grazing at one point during the movie, she hears a rustling in the woods. Knowing that this is a hunter in the woods, she tells Bambi to run, of which he does, and she makes the ultimate sacrifice to save her son. This movie is very, very difficult to watch, and I hardly ever revisit it, but I would be lying if I said that Bambi's mother is absolutely not the most heroic Disney character of them all. There are very few characters that make the ultimate sacrifice for somebody that they love, but it is even more heart-wrenching knowing that she leaves behind a baby son. But I think Bambi's mother would be so proud to know that her son grew up to be the prince of the forest and would carry on her legacy into other animated films. Oh, I just love her, and she is absolutely not talked about enough. She is an unsung hero to the highest degree. And I cannot think of one other character more deserving of number 1 on today's list of Disney's unsung heroes. Whew, but with that, friends, we have talked about some of my favorite unsung heroes of the Walt Disney Company. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun talking about all of these wonderful characters that I love so much. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe down below so that way you never miss out on future magic from me. In addition, if you'd like to find me on any of my other social medias, my handle is @Nicky Marra with 2 I's and 2 R's. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat for even more magic. Once again, thank you all so much. I have been loving making these long form videos for you guys, and all of your wonderful words of positivity down in the comment section mean the world to me. I am so excited to continue making these, and I have so many ideas for the future. But as always, if you'd like to make a specific request for a video, you can absolutely leave it down in the comments. Again, thank you so much for watching. Stay magical, and until next time, I'll see you all real soon.